Akureyri wakes late and works early. Lights glow in kitchen windows, the fjord holds its breath, and the wind moves down the hill with small, quick feet. On the main street, a butcher hangs his chalkboard, a baker wipes steam from a pane, and across from the library stands a narrow workshop with a door that sticks in deep winter. Inside, Aaron sets a block of ice at the room's center. Tools hang on the wall in careful rows. Chisels lie in an oiled roll like sleeping knives. He pulls off his gloves, rubs warmth into his fingers, and studies the clear block as if it is a page he can already read. Aaron is known in town. He makes swans that look ready to lift horses that hold their breath, faces that seem to hear a joke before anyone tells it. People admire his work. They admire something else more quietly. His sculptures do not melt. Not soon. Not at festival noon, not in the first lift of spring. The roomer wears a simple coat. The ice carver borrowed a smile and never returned it. He does not answer rumors. He works. The mallet taps. The chisel opens a line no one else could see. Slivers fall like slow snow. The block begins to hold a face. Aaron pauses, brushes away frost with a rake tool and listens. He always listens. Across the street, the library door unlocks. Mara, 26, comes in with a braid tucked into her scarf and a stack of returns under one arm. She grew up here, left for school, then came home because she missed the way the sky behaves like water and the sea behaves like sky. She likes books about winter because they are always about time, not weather. She makes tea, turns up the little radiator, and sorts a bin of children's books. A town newsletter sits pinned above the kettle. Ice Festival will be bigger than ever. The photo is one of Aaron's pieces, a woman rising from water. The caption says, "Still standing firm in August." Mara frowns, not at the talent, but at the smile on the statue. It looks perfect in a way that makes her tongue feel cold. By mid-morning, teenagers gather at Aaron's window with phones. Mara steps outside to shake the doormat, and before going back in, lets herself watch a minute. Aaron is shaping a mouth. The workshop air looks bright the way air can look when sun crosses ice. He sets the chisel down, brushes the surface, and touches the shallow curve where lips will be. A faint sound rises thin as a reed note. Mara stills. It is not the tool. It is not the wind. It is a whisper, the kind that makes your ear wonder if it heard what it wanted to hear. The teenagers do not react. Aaron does. His shoulders go tight, then steady. Mara returns to the desk, but the sound will not leave her. She shelves returns, helps a tourist find a novel that looks like winter, and smiles with her mouth and not her eyes. At closing, she posts the newsletter back on its pin. A corner of the photo lifts and clings to her glove. It is the statue's smile. Paper only, she tells herself, and still her tongue tastes metal for a breath. She walks home through blue light. Her grandmother Edda waits at the kitchen table with yarn in a wooden bowl. Edda taught half the town to read, then retired into the particular joy of naming things that might otherwise be ignored. "You have the kettle face," Edda says, not looking up. "That is the face you make when you boil water for comfort." Mara laughs, then tells her what she heard. She does not say elf. She says a whisper in ice. Edda listens. She has the manner of a woman who can hold silence without letting it weigh on anyone else. "Have you lost anything this week?" she asks. "My keys," Mara says. "Every week." "Not that. A small road in your head. A smell you knew. A word that used to wait for you when you needed it." Mara thinks of the hill path behind her first house, the one she took to sit on a flat rock and watch the aurora invent itself. The rock is there in her mind. The path will not come when called. A blank place stands where the path should be, as if someone painted over a door. It is nothing, she says. It is the kind of nothing that pulls, Edda says. During thin years, people made quiet agreements. During good years, they minded the stones. When something lasts longer than it should, someone somewhere pays with something small. Small is still real. The next morning, Mara crosses the street before opening the library. The workshop door is unlatched. Aaron looks up, cautious and kind. "May I help you?" he says. "Tell me what you borrowed," she says. "And from whom?" He considers her, and the set of his jaw says he is tired of being brave alone. He sits on a stool mallet between his boots. "I called it a gift," he says. "It arrived like one. I was carving late on festival night, could not make a mouth that did what I asked. I walked to the river to cool my temper. Under the bridge, something that was not quite a person was waiting. It smiled, not a nice smile. A true one, the kind that tells you a secret and asks you to keep it. It said, 'Let me lend you a curve. Use it for this season. Return it when the season is done. Give a piece of yourself back with it.' You did not ask the price," Mara says. "I did not want to hear it," he says. "I took the curve. My knives found lines without fighting. The town loved the work. People stayed longer, bought more, said winter felt kinder. I told myself I would carry the smile back in spring. And then spring arrived and left," she says. "And I kept telling myself the season was not truly over," he says. "I was lazy with my own promise and dressed it as kindness to the town." "What did it take?" Mara asks. "Because I cannot find a path in my mind. I want it back." He rubs a hand over his face as if to smooth the story. "A friend told me memory is like water," he says. "If you squeeze, you lose it. If you carve a channel, it runs where you made room." I think the borrowed smile demanded channels. It used small ones that no one defends. A lane name. The smell of a soup. A child's short route to school. Nothing dramatic. Enough to keep my ice hard through months it should have gone. Mara's anger arrives clean and brief. Not at Aaron alone. At the way people wrap debt in good intentions. "Return it," she says. "Tonight, under the bridge. If there is a price to pay, let it fall where it should. I will stand there with you." Aaron nods. "Tonight," he says. Evening comes early and sits heavy. Mara ties her hood. Edda fastens the knot under her chin, as if she is seeing a schoolgirl out to recess. "Be courteous," Edda says. "Respect is better than cleverness." At the bridge, Aaron waits with a bundled shape under his arm. He sets it on stone and loosens the cloth. Inside lies the first face he carved with the borrowed curve. Even half-covered, the mouth pulls at the eyes at the soft spots behind the ears. He covers it again. Aaron speaks into the cold. "Neighbor," he says. "Lender, I held a gift too long. Take it back. Let the channels return to their owners. If a price is still owed, take my part from me, not from the town." Air changes. Not a wind. A presence. Mara does not look straight at it. She feels a knock behind her ear and a question that has no words. "Do you want the easy way?" "I want what is mine," she says aloud. "I do not want what is not mine. If something of mine was used, return it. If someone else paid, tell me who so I can thank or repay." The presence seems to tip its head. The river shifts. Thin ice sings and loosens. When it speaks, the sound is a hollow note, a bottle voice. "You asked for lasting," it says. "Lasting must come from somewhere. I took from places that would fade anyway." "There is no spare future," Mara says. Only unnoticed cost. Give back what you took. Aaron slides the wrapped face onto the slick center under the arch. The cloth darkens, freezes, sinks. The sound in the air draws tight, and then widens like a hand unclenching. Something opens in Mara's mind. The path returns. Gravel underfoot, a child's small breath, a green river of sky. In kitchens across town, people pause and remember small, useless things that make life feel more like itself. A whistle, a pet name, how to tie a scarf without looking. The presence speaks one more time. The price is simple, it says. Your work will be beautiful but brief again. That is the world. The first piece you make now, you will carve with your hands in river water and give to someone you do not choose without payment. And you tomorrow will stand before people and say, "This is enough." You will say it 3 times and mean it. Aaron bows. Mara nods. The cold under the bridge softens. Snow begins in a thin, patient way. They walk back toward town without hurry. Aaron asks, "Why did you come?" "Because I do not like tricks that pretend to be generosity," she says, "and because I want the town to warm its hands on true things." He does not ask for forgiveness. He does not need a speech. Sometimes apology is work done right after. The morning after the bridge, the town looked ordinary. Smoke lifted from chimneys. Boats hummed at the harbor. Children ran their boots, making squeaks in thin snow. Only Aaron and Mara knew the town was carrying back its small, forgotten roads, its whistles, its scents. Aaron filled a wooden trough with water from the river. He carried it to the square where the market gathered, even in cold. His gloves were soaked by the time he set it down. A block of ice floated inside, plain and heavy. People noticed. Of course they noticed. In a town this size, any change is a story. The butcher wiped his hands, the baker carried buns, and the mayor arrived pretending to pass by. Children tugged at mittens and pointed. Aaron rolled up his sleeves. He dipped his hands into the trough until the ache reached his bones. He lifted the block, dripping, and set it on a plain table. "No tools from home," he said. "No borrowed curve. If you want to see what a mouth looks like when it is carved honestly, stand where you can see." He used a simple chisel, not polished, not perfect. The first cuts were clumsy, too deep, too sharp. He frowned, but did not stop. He cut again, slower. The ice began to shape itself into a face he had noticed that morning, a woman in the square, lifting her child over a puddle, laughing when her own boot splashed instead. He tried to carve not beauty, but the moment, the surprise, the warmth, the small foolishness that makes laughter real. His hands burned in the cold water, then went numb, then returned to ache. Still, he carved. By the time the sky turned silver, the block held a face with a mouth half formed into a laugh. Not perfect, not polished. Alive. "Who is it?" For the mayor asked. His eyes darted, hoping for a name he could put in the town newsletter. Aaron looked across the crowd. He saw a young man leaning by a lamppost, shoulders bent as if he expected little from the day. His hands were empty. "You," Aaron said. He lifted the sculpture, heavy and dripping, and carried it across the square. He set it in front of the man. The man blinked. "Why?" Before Aaron could speak, Mara stepped forward. Her braid brushed her shoulder. Her cheeks were pink from cold. She looked at the face and at the young man. "Because this is enough," she said. People stirred. She turned toward them. "This is enough," she said again, louder. "It is not a miracle. It is not forever. It is a gift." Then steady and clear, she said it once more. "This is enough." The square grew still. For a breath, it felt as if the houses themselves leaned closer. Then the spell broke into ordinary sounds. Children laughing, the baker calling out that buns were warm, the butcher giving a heavier cut than usual, the mayor snapping a picture. The ice face lasted through the afternoon. At sunset, the mouth softened. By night, only water pooled on the stone. In the morning, there was nothing but a damp mark where it had stood. The young man, however, still looked as if someone had given him back a word he had lost. That evening in the library, Mara found her grandmother waiting with yarn. Was it enough? Edda asked. Yes, Mara said. She thought of the path that had returned in her mind and of the look on Aaron's face when he set the sculpture down. It was enough. Winter thickened. The fjord froze in quiet sheets, and the hills wore white that stayed even on windy days. Nights stretched long and lanterns appeared in windows before the sun was gone. The town prepared for its annual festival when lights would string across the square like a constellation that had bent down to visit. Aaron worked each day in his shop. He carved horses, birds, and faces. Some were clumsy, some were beautiful. All of them melted in their time. He did not mind. Each drip felt like a truth returning to its place. People gathered to watch anyway. They laughed, pointed, bought coffee, lingered in shops. The town was alive not because of magic, but because of attention. One evening he made a bridge of ice. Not the real bridge by the river, but one that carried the memory of all bridges, an arch with a dip in the middle, where many boots had passed an underside with a small carved ear, as if the bridge itself was listening. He set it near the riverbank. Children lay on the snow at night and watched the aurora spill green across it. They whispered secrets into the carved ear, giggling when the wind seemed to answer. Mara began hosting story nights at the library. She did not read the old tales with forbidden names. She read simple stories about people who gave back what they borrowed, or who learned to carry their share of cost. She asked the townsfolk to tell their own small legends. One man told about the day the whale surfaced by his boat, its eye shining like a coin. A woman told about the time they ran out of cinnamon and used cardamom instead. Children spoke of losing mittens and finding them again in spring mud. Aaron sometimes came. He sat at the back near the door, chisels still in his coat pocket, the smell of ice clinging to him. He listened more than he spoke. He noticed how Mara never rushed people even when their words tangled. She gave silence the shape it needed, and the room felt safe. The festival arrived at last. The mayor strung lights across poles, and walking down the main street felt like moving through stars. People carried lanterns, ate hot bread, stamped their feet, and laughed in clouds of breath. On the final night, the mayor stood on a box in the square, ready to give his yearly speech about tourism and commerce. He began, then paused, cleared his throat, and said something else instead. This year, he said, holding up a lantern, we will thank the things that melt, because they remind us we live in time, not in a photograph. The crowd laughed, then cheered. They lit lanterns one by one and sent them into the sky. The breeze carried them down the fjord like drifting stars. Children pointed, adults sighed, and someone whispered, maybe they will reach the hidden houses. No, said Edda, standing nearby. Lanterns belong to the sky, that is thanks enough. Mara and Aaron stood side by side, shoulders nearly touching. Their breaths mingled in the cold. Thank you for the bridge, Mara said softly. Thank you for your words. In the square, Aaron answered. They were the right ones. He hesitated, then asked, would you walk with me to the river when the lanterns are gone? I think the neighbor under the bridge will not be there tonight. That is why I would like to go. She smiled, her own smile unborrowed. Yes, she said. They left the square as the last lanterns drifted upward, walking toward the river, where silence waited. A silence that was simply winter, nothing more. Spring came slowly then, all at once. At first it was only a smell, wet earth, sharp and hopeful. Then the snow along the roofs slid down in long sighs. The fjord broke open, a sheet cracking into 100 shifting plates. Children kicked their boots through puddles, delighted at the mess. Aaron's sculptures disappeared one by one. A horse lost its tail, a fish collapsed into scales of water, a face blurred until only the hint of eyes remained. He did not grieve. Each melting felt like a sentence spoken, clearly finished, complete time to move on. Tourists arrived asking for the unmeltable ice. Some looked disappointed. One woman complained on a travel page that the town had lost its miracle. A local baker replied gently, "You misunderstand. The point is that they go. You were here when they were here. That is the miracle." Mara and her grandmother planted herbs in a wooden box by the kitchen window. Basil, dill, a little thyme. The neighbor's cat slept in the box as if it had been planted for him. In the library, Mara pinned a new board titled "Things That Are Enough." People added notes, "My tea when it is hot, but not perfect." The bus driver waving at the garbage truck. A robin landing outside the swimming pool window. The notes grew until the board itself looked like a quilt of small truths. Aaron, too, kept to his promise. One morning he carried a block of ice across town to the library. It dripped in his arms, soaking his sleeves. Mara looked up from the desk, surprised. "For the children tonight," he said. He set it down on a plate. With a small chisel he carved a fish. Not perfect, not elegant, its mouth opened as if to sip the air. It shone for an hour, then melted into a puddle. The children laughed, dipped fingers into the water, and traced little rivers on the table. Mara asked, "What will you carve next?" "Perhaps a cup," Aaron said. "A cup holds. A cup empties. It is simple, and it asks you to fill it again in its time." "Yes," Mara said. "That is enough." Outside, the river ran free under the bridge, talking to itself as rivers do. Lanterns were gone, ice was gone, winter was gone. But the town remained holding its stories, remembering its paths, living in time. And in that living, Aaron and Mara walked side by side, not in a tale of borrowed smiles anymore, but in a life where even ordinary days were enough.